Alright, there it is, my Sega Genesis. I dug it out. I've been, getting some games for it. Some of these I've had for a while, and some of them I just, I found recently. Nothing really crazy, nothing super rare or anything. The Streets of Rage 2 is kind of getting somewhat pricey, but other than that, I think most of these things are pretty cheap. But the reason I'm here is I wanted to show you things that I didn't know that you could do with Genesis. At least I might have known it one time, but I forgot. They make collecting for the system fun. If you want a reason to collect Genesis instead of Super Nintendo and stuff, there's a million. Super Nintendo's cool. I love it. It's a lot of fun too. Genesis is cool because, one, the games tend to be cheaper than Super Nintendo on the whole, unless you get some rare one. Two, it's easier to find them, with the box and most of the time you get the manual, let's see, this will probably have, yeah, so you get the manual and the game and stuff, and they're real cheap, because of the way they came, where Super Nintendo had that, paper box, kind of like Nintendo did with the cardboard there, so most of them you find are like that, but Genesis are pretty easy to find complete in box, and so that makes it kind of cool, and when you do find them loose, they're real cheap. Okay, but I'm having a lot of fun because there's just a lot of stuff I didn't know. We'll start with number one. The Model 1 has this headphone plug. And so you can either plug headphones into it or get this plug and plug it into the RCA on, I've got a receiver up there, so plug it into a receiver and you get stereo sound. The only way you can get stereo sound out of a Genesis is going through this front port with one of these. If you go on the back with the RCA, it's just mono coming out of the sound port there. So this is the only way to get stereo. You can also control the volume up and down. So buy the originals. Don't buy all the other crappy ones that came out. Buy the original. It's the best one. So the sound's better if you want to run it through a receiver. So number one is that. Number two is I want to talk about the Game Genie a little bit. Not for what most people talk about the Game Genie. I want to show you the stuff that you probably didn't know it could do. I didn't know until recently. I bought this for $5 at Retro Madness. They are real cheap. So if you don't know what one of these is, you probably do, but if you don't, you can plug this in and then you put games on top of it, and then now you can put codes in like level skips and invincibility and stuff like that. And that's fun. But you can also do something they did not intend it. This is a Japanese copy of Tommy Lasorda's Baseball in Japan on the Mega Drive system. It's called Super League. So if you look, that's in Japanese, all in Japanese. I got this at Half Price Books for $6 because I wanted to see if it worked. I'd read online that you can do this. So if you shove this in like that, now I can play this. If I don't have it, if you look, it won't even fit in there. See, it won't actually go in. It sticks out the top. They're different on the bottom. However, with the Game Genie, you now can just shove it in. So now I can actually play it. Now I'll show you. Make sure the switch is up right here on the side. Turn it on. Everything powers up. And there we go. Now I will also show you this other thing you do have to do. So when the Game Genie code thing comes up, just press the start button. And so now all the region locking is done. You can now play Japanese games. You can play European releases that don't fit in the Genesis, all the Mega Drives. Some do require a code to play. This one does not. It's an older enough game that you could just press start. And yeah, it got ported to Japan. They don't know who Tommy Lasorda is, I guess, over there, so they just called it Super League. Most of it is in English. However, the teams were changed, and there's a lot of Japanese, but it still plays the same. So you probably don't want it for this game. So what I'm getting at is you can get Golden Axe 3, and there's a bunch of other games that was not ever released over here, and you can play them. So that's one thing you can do, is it takes the region locking out and allows you to play that. Alright, another thing that I wanted to show y'all that I don't know how many people know. Most people know that you can get Sonic and Knuckles, and it has this flip top up here. And you can put Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 in and play as Knuckles in those games. Most people know that, okay? But what a lot of people don't know is if you plug it into the Game Genie, not only does it just look incredibly crazy, you now can do all the Game Genie codes for Sonic 2, and they will work for Knuckles. And it's just insane. That looks crazy. And that acts as one game. And I'll show you that it does actually work. I'll actually have to move my Genesis a little too. Hold on a second. To fit in because of the way I've got the shelf done. So it barely even fits in there. That is insane. You can actually even make it go taller if I had a 32X. I hate the 32X. I used to have it. It's a piece of crap system. Traded it for a bunch of really cool Nintendo games. I thought I came out way ahead. But yes, some people claim that the 32X will make the Genesis graphics better. I do not agree. Alright, so we're going to start. Now, I'm going to put the code in for I won't lose any rings if I get hit, which AX6D, take me 1 second, hold on, X6D, AA3W, AA3W. Alright, now press start. And here we go. It should come up as Sonic 2. And instead of having the regular Sonic 2 logo, it should have Knuckles up there. There he is. Okay, so now check this out. All those codes that you can put in for Sonic 2 will now work with Knuckles. And it just looks incredibly crazy sticking out of your machine up there. Alright, so here we go. When I get hit, I shouldn't lose any rings. I mean, he'll lose them, but it won't say you lost any. Jump. Pause. Okay. So this guy's going to hit me. But see, it still says I have 2 rings. So no matter how many times he hits me, and it doesn't matter, it's kind of stupid, but I just wanted to show that you can use the Game Genie codes as Knuckles while playing Sonic 2, and I think the same thing works for Sonic 3. So anyway, that's some crap that I didn't know about Genesis. I know this was kind of long-winded, but it's fun collecting for this system. I think anybody should do it. You can also get the Japanese games with that Game Genie, and they're real cheap. So that's why I've been crazy about the Genesis in the last month. Alright, have a good one.